And action. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Action Podcast. And today we are on episode 91, I believe. And today we were able to catch the sneak previews of Dune 2. So that's going to lead us off today. We also have seen Ordinary Angels starring Hilary Swank. Third, we'll talk about Drive Away Dolls, a new film directed by Ethan Coen. Fourth, we'll talk about Miller's Girl, which is a smaller independent film that both of us have seen. And then last, Pete has now seen Land of Bad, so we'll have a little discourse on Land of Bad. So with that, Pete,
you also mentioned, sorry to interrupt, you also mentioned talking a little bit about One Love.
One Love.
About my thoughts about One Love. And
we can throw that at the end here. Yeah.
At the end?
At the end, yeah.
Cool.
All right. So let's get into Dune 2, Pete. What were your thoughts?
Well, okay. Full transparency. I had to watch Dune 1 twice. The first time I was completely unimpressed. I watched it a second time only because I loved Timothee Chalamet after Wonka. And I rewatched Dune 1 and I was like, oh my gosh, this is an incredible film. The scope of it, the landscapes, the acting, the story. I immediately got immersed into this world. Dune 2 is on IMDb right now. If you look today, it says that this movie's a 10 out of 10, which I know it's impossible.
Well, I read some of the reviews already, and everyone, the reviews are high.
Yeah, the reviews are way high, and rightfully so. But a 10 out of 10, that's incredible. Like, it's impossible. Like, Godfather or Godfather Part 2, which are amazing movies, I think they got high 8s, maybe a 9.1.
Yeah.
Depending. Either way. So Denis Villeneuve, who directed, of course, the Blade Runner revamp, Arrival, Sicario, Prisoners. Like, this guy knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite directors.
He's phenomenal. Now, Dune 2 comes out, and I'm nervous because I've already fallen in love with Dune 1. And now it's part 2. And at the time I'm watching this, I have no idea whether there's going to be a part 3 or not. However, we are introduced to new characters, and I'll get into that in a minute. But this storyline and how they've progressed this story from the first one is not only more action-oriented, but you start to explore that love story. And it's not a Twilight or a Vampire Diaries or a WB young kids being in love with each other. Like, there was a legitimate love story that had its pros and cons, and you see this throughout. And I thought the love story was well done. I thought what happens with Rebecca Ferguson, who's the mother of Timothée Chalamet, I thought what happens with her character is also quite interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know the original Dune. I'm completely forgetting about the original Dune. I'm focusing on this. We see Javier Bardem come in as this completely Allegiant character who's all in on Timothée Chalamet, and his performance, I think, is one of the best of this film.
Yeah.
And then you get Josh Brolin, and then after all of that, then you get introduced, because then you have Dave Bautista, who's the bad guy, and then you have the guy from
he's the nephew of the bad guy,
and then you have the Good Will Hunting guy, who's the other bad guy from the first one. And however,
Skarsgård.
Yeah, Skarsgård. But they introduce Austin Butler as and recently, when you're watching Austin Butler post Elvis, he can't get away from the Elvis tone of voice. Like, he just can't do it. It's impossible for this guy. Every time he's talking, he got talking kind of like this. Every time he's interviewed, he's got to answer questions kind of like this. And then he pops into this movie, and his character, I finally saw a villain in the Dune series that I was all about. Um, he came in almost like I'm not going to put him next to Joker of the Dark Knight, but the fact that his evil character was done in such a way that
Yeah, he's set up nicely
he was set up properly.
because the
His
other two, like you're right, Bautista and Skarsgård, even they're not overwhelmingly great, and
No,
so
they're just kind of there.
they're there and they're important, but
Right,
they're not like I'm scared of this guy. They're not like he's not like a Thanos or even a Darth Vader, for instance, where it's like, oh man, this guy's badass. But you're right,
right.
like Austin Butler's character.
He has to, on his birthday, this character, he has to go and fight a bunch of guys. And, if you know the Dune series, you can put a shield on yourself to prevent attacks, at least for a period of time, where you can actually counter, and then eventually it breaks down, and then you get stabbed and you die. However, this kid pulls off his thing and he's like, I don't need a protection. I'm going to go for this after he realizes that he's been put up for slaughter, basically. And he just dominates. Like the way they set up his evil character, I loved it every second of it. And
Yeah.
then they introduced two other characters into this series, which is Florence Pugh as the daughter of the Emperor, who is none other than Christopher Walken, who
Yeah.
had five scenes.
Look at me. I'm an
Eh,
emperor.
Dune is sand everywhere.
He does not
It,
talk that way, by
it's
the way.
it's just so bizarre to have a Christopher Walken in that role. However, I'll go with it, even though you could have saved yourself a lot of money by just putting somebody else as the Emperor.
No,
And
I think I'm glad it was somebody I knew because the the role still isn't that significant yet. And so a name
have to
recognition.
introduce it in a grand. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I get you.
So the fact that it's Christopher Walken, you're like, okay, cool. Like, even though you're a little bit out of character when
Right.
you think that, it's still you're still happy it's somebody you know because if it was a random guy, it's kind of the same thing as these other the Baron and all that. Like they're because they don't have that much significance on screen or like they're up to something bad, but we don't really still have the grand scale of everything. And so because of that, I think you do need the named actors because I'm obviously we're probably missing stuff from the book. It's I don't think it's a literal
I
adaptation.
don't care about the book.
And so I think you need the gravitas that it's like Chris Frog because it's like, okay, he's an emperor. Got
The spice mines are important.
it. Yeah.
We need them in for our world. It's just like he comes in and he does his role and he does it great. Florence Pugh's great because she's
And
very
again, fans,
stoic.
audience, he does not talk like that. So he does not talk like that in this movie. So you're not taking a
I mean, I'll go into like sign. I
yeah.
mean, the spice mines. I mean, let's go. Florence Pugh comes in also, and she's very good, but she's very limited. But her role is actually quite vital. Um, I thought the stars of this movie, of course, at the end of the day, were Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. Zendaya, I've loved her since the Spider-Man films. I loved her in the first one. I loved her because my daughter watches her in the whatever Disney Plus series that she was in or whatever she was in. This girl has an amazing amount of talent. And what she did is she in this movie, she gives you a girl who is tough as nails, who falls in love and then starts to question things and becomes a rebel within a rebellion. And she is phenomenal. Zendaya is a legitimate star in acting, and she is going to be something to be revered, I think, in the future. I loved seeing Josh Brolin's character come back. It was minimal, but I thought it was important for Timothée Chalamet's character. And I loved the way he bonded with the what's the name of the group from the desert?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Horrible review. This is an awful review, by the way.
Yeah.
The group of people, the sand people,
Freeman.
the
Fremen.
Freeman. Thank you.
It's not called Freeman. It's like Fremen.
The Fremen.
Yeah.
The way he was accepted into the Fremen, it wasn't contrived. It wasn't just let's just make him a part of it on page 5. Like they showed this progression, and I appreciated the length of this film because they put the details where they needed to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't just making a long movie just for the sake of making a long movie. Like
Or
they
throwing money at the movie to make to build the
exactly.
budget. Yeah.
If this got a 10 out of 10, I would find it very difficult for me to argue. I thought this is the best movie I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
And, last year versus this year, like January, last year was okay. You got a couple of movies. You got Megan, you got Plane, you got a couple of movies that kind of kept you interested in cinema in January. And we didn't get that this year. And you've had a couple of movies that were fine. This is the first movie that just blew me away this year, and I'm so happy I saw it. And you need to go see this. This is one of the best movies I've seen. As a
Yeah.
number two, this is better than the first, in the same way that Godfather 2 is better than the first Godfather.
Yeah. Or Dark Knight is better.
Dark Knight's better than
And I
Begins.
think it's just because it's
100%.
such a big story, and I think that's the most important thing I think for audience to understand is I personally don't think this is a one viewing type of movie. I think there's just so much to it.
I'm
Uh,
gonna watch it again, 100%.
yeah, because even though I watched the original Dune again, and I thought the first one was like okay, like solid, like I'm interested, but I wasn't like blown away with the first one. But the more I watch it, the more that I kind of understand everything, it's almost like learning a language. It's just like you just really got to spend the time to understand the layers and the nuances, and especially there'll most likely be a third one because I think this one's gonna bring in the money.
This one's
Uh,
gonna blow shit up. As soon as people start talking like the way I'm talking right
they,
now,
they already are. I mean, this is already. I
blow
mean,
up.
yeah, this movie is getting all the reviews, and I think it's going to do very
So
well.
good.
There'll still be
Visually,
a third one, and I think this is a movie that's going to just kind of age with fine wine. And like you're saying, it's Denis Villeneuve, and he is one of the best directors. Understands the balance between CGI, practical. I think he is
right. That's
most.
a great point. That's an amazing point about this movie.
I think he is maybe like obviously Spielberg's at the end of his career, he's not at the beginning. I think Denis Villeneuve, pound for pound, is the best director right now.
Mm.
I'm trying to rack my head very fast, but I'm not talking like the last generation of like like your Scorsese, Spielberg, those guys. I'm talking like the generation after that. And again, pound for pound, I think no one can really compete with him. And he's got more of hits, but his hits aren't just hits. They're critically acclaimed. They're audience acclaimed. Like he brings the whole package with his films, and
Well, but
so
they're also epic, right? Like
yeah,
Sicario is an
that's not an
epic
epic. That's not an
movie.
epic, but it's really great.
No, but it's rich,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Arrival is rich.
Super
It's not
rich. Yeah,
epic, but it's super rich. Blade Runner is not. It's my least
not,
favorite of his films.
that's not my cup of tea. But people love Blade Runner. I'm not a Blade
People love
Runner.
it, but people love it. However, it's another one of these rich sort of expansions on a specific time period, contrived or not, right? And so, I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is just
Yeah.
it's a phenomenal accomplishment. This is a great film. Great film.
Here's because I even told Nicole this. Here's what I would do, guys. If you have not seen Dune yet, I would see the first one. Pay attention though. I would also read like Wikipedia or some other short form novelization of it, so that way it's easier to follow along. For me, I did that yesterday just to kind of crash course, and it really helped me process everything, get the names down because that's also another part where you hear them, but like for me, I struggle with that sometimes. So seeing in written form really helped me process everything that's happened, and it's like, okay, that's what I saw. Oh, got it. Okay, so I'd recommend
Like
something like that.
Harkonnens.
Yeah, the Harkonnens, and
Oh, the
then
Harkonnens. Yeah, I know who those guys are.
right, and then again, see this new one. And most likely, guys, see it twice because the first time I feel like you're gonna get it, but then the second time it's really gonna, I think, rise to
Expand.
the surface. So
It's going to really expand. However, I will say that they are going to make a third. You've heard it here first on the Action Podcast.
they already said they're making it.
No, I'm telling you, they're going to make a third one first here on these airwaves. However, I do think that there is potential because of the way that they've laid this out and the way that Dennis has created this world. This is going to expand. Like this has a massive potential of being a new sort of Star Wars franchise where you can
Oh,
start to expand um, at different time periods. You can go into the past, you can go into
yeah.
the future, you can stay in the present. There is massive potential with this property
And
because of what they've done with these first two films.
yeah, and to add, when the first time I saw it, I thought the first one, like one of my part of my review was that I thought it was like almost like a Star Wars light, like it's like a new kind of Star Wars thing. What I didn't realize is the source material predates Star Wars.
Isn't
And
that
so,
crazy?
yeah, so and I've never heard it or read it, but you have to think George Lucas, who is a reader, probably read Dune and is probably
Maybe.
influenced in a lot of ways. This could be Tatooine.
What if
Um,
Tatooine didn't happen just on one place?
yeah,
What if I expanded it outward,
yeah.
right?
So
Anyways,
anyway, so I think now that I used to think it was the other way around, but now knowing that this book came out before that, it's probably Lucas was probably inspired by this versus the other way around. So it's a key kind of component there to note. Let's
this,
move on, Pete, because we got to
yeah,
do these next.
100%. This is fantastic. Go see it. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Awesome. Next, we have Ordinary Angels. This is the movie starring Hilary Swank, among others. And this is a kind of a feel-good story. Ultimately, Hilary Swank is a she's basically an alcoholic that kind of starts to lose her friendships, and she because of some friction that happens in her life, ultimately she ends up going to this funeral that she sees on the news. She attends it and there's kind of wants to,
Randomly?
huh?
Just randomly, she goes to a funeral? Or does she
Well,
know the person?
because after she has a couple like alcohol incidences and she's really just kind of like trying to find herself in a way.
Yeah,
And so yes, pretty randomly, she's like, I'm just gonna kind of pay my respects. And through that, she just sort of kind of gets involved with this family that needs help, and she just feels inspired to help to kind of, again, I think, atone for her own shortcomings.
sure.
And it's really a really good kind of heartfelt feel good story. I think, again, there's different types of movies, and I think different movies cause different emotions. And I think just like food, you like different types of food. Tonight I want Chinese food, tomorrow I'll have Mexican food, Italian food, right? I
And
feel
I
like,
want Hilary Swank.
yeah, this is just a real good feel good story. I thought it was well done. I didn't think it was, sometimes these movies can be very, for lack of a better word, like Lifetime movie, or, kind of they're manipulative in terms of emotions versus, allow the story to play out. But this is based off a true story. And I did find it very emotional.
Is it
Um,
theatrical or is it streaming?
It's theatrical, yeah. It's
Okay.
theatrical. It
Okay.
was actually the main release last week, along with Drive Away Dolls.
Right.
But I highly recommend it. Again, very good feel good story and fun to kind of go along in the journey. And um, yeah, I think it was really well done. So definitely check it out. Highly recommend it.
Yay. Go Swank.
Go Swank. All right, next we have
Hashtag go Swank.
Drive Away Dolls. This is stars Ethan Coen, or no, no, stars. It's written and directed by Ethan Coen. Stars
Yes.
Margaret Qualley, and I forget the other girl who's in it.
And a little bit of the guy from what's his name? Dude. Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal has a small role in it.
Small role.
Yeah, Geraldine Viswanathan. She's from Blockers. If you've seen that, Beanie Feldstein. She's funny in this. And then who was the other guy in this? Oh, Matt Damon. Matt Damon has a good cameo role.
Matt Damon.
Um, P,
Yeah.
I'll let you start on this one.
Yeah, we can start with me. It's going to be really fast because I didn't get through it. I started it, and I'm a fan of some of the work, and I'm not a fan of some of the other work. It's really hit or miss with this guy. No Country for Old Men, I think, is like probably one of the better films I've seen ever. It's phenomenal. The way it's paced, the way that it's acted, and what he did with the camera and the story, I thought was brilliant. This movie, and I will watch it again. I promise to the audience, I will watch this again because I got 25 minutes into this movie and I wanted to break my computer almost because I just didn't like the acting. I didn't like the scenario. I didn't like the setting. I didn't like where the story was headed. And you need to grab somebody if you want to be successful immediately. And I felt that this movie didn't do that. However, I know this director, and you might have to go through a little bit of a shitty journey in order to get to an
Yeah.
amazing film. I will try it again, but my first impression is, unless you're like a massive super fan of this director, you just go into it with an understanding that you might hate it within 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think this movie is a hit or miss. It's got a 6.1 on IMDb, 57 Metascore. So I think that pretty much is up and down. So
Yeah.
some people probably think it's an eight, others probably think it's closer to a five. And
Right.
so I think there are entertaining aspects to it. I loved Matt Damon in this. I love kind of that aspect of it. I don't even know, Pete, if you got that far yet. But there's part of the storyline I really like. But to Pete's point, I think the main characters I thought were just kind of shallow in terms of their needs and what they wanted. It 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 was very kind of happenstance, and I don't know. I think there was
I didn't care about the characters. Like
I didn't really care because there's no real depth to them, and
there was
so
nothing added to them where it made you want them
I
to
I
succeed
thought
or fail.
some of the stuff was funny. Um, I laughed here and there, so I did think some of it was funny. But
Right.
yeah, overall, I did not really care about the main characters. I like the side characters more than I like the main characters.
That's
I like
interesting.
the guys
Right.
going after them. I liked
I'll watch it again.
Pedro Pascal, but the main characters, it was just like
Who's always great,
I
and women
understand.
love him.
Yeah.
The ladies love that dude.
So, guys, this is gonna be hit or miss. I'm not gonna necessarily recommend this for everybody. I think you got to like adult humor. This is not a kids movie for sure.
Sure.
Um, very, very adult movie, little bit risque. So, if you're open to that, then I think again you could have a good time or not. But this
Right.
is Ethan Coen. Check out his work. See if this is kind of your cup of tea. All
I
right,
agree.
next we have Miller's Girl. Miller's Girl came out a few weeks ago. I don't think it's in theaters anymore, but you're gonna catch it on streaming, I believe, pretty soon. So
Right.
we've both seen this. P, I'll let you start this one off.
Right. So this only got a 5.3, and I think that's low, but I almost kind of agree with it. This is directed by Jade Haley Bartlett, who this is like sort of her debut as a director. It stars Martin Freeman, who we all know as Bilbo Baggins and from Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah,
and Jenna Ortega. Now, this movie is very provocative and very intense. It's it's not only well performed, but it's well written until the end.
yeah,
And until the end, it when it gets to the end, it just sort of veers off of course. And and it goes into a direction that I think it didn't need to go because it set up this scenario where you were engaged,
yeah,
um, and you felt this immense amount of tension, and then it just went way over there, and you're like, well, why would you do that?
yeah.
This could have been a seven, and they went in this direction, and I agree it's a 5.3. I thought the performances were stellar. I thought Jenna Ortega, the more I see her and her career, the more I think that she's more and more beautiful. I
Yeah.
didn't like her obviously and earlier in the career because she's just had this odd look,
And she's a
but almost
child because
almost like Well, I'm not talking about the child aspect of it. I mean, oh, coming up next week, Peter gets arrested.
Yeah.
Um,
Jeez.
but in the same way that like Aubrey Plaza has like this intense negative sort of appearance, yet you can't help but be massively attracted to her because she's a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Jenna Ortega's the same sort of thing. And so as I see her more and more perform in things outside of what we've seen her in so far, the more I'm more appreciative of what it is that she's doing. Um, Go into this with an understanding that you're going to go through a really intense story and then be let down at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my comp for this one would have been kind of Cruel Intentions. Just not like you're saying, not executed 100% the way through. I think you nailed it in terms of the thing. You're really on the ride
Yeah.
for a lot of the movie, and then towards the end, it
Dude,
kind
it
of
was tense. It was tense there for a bit.
yeah,
Like imagine you were the teacher, and all of
yeah,
a sudden you're presented with that scenario, and you're like, I didn't do that.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
This kind of goes off
It's
and veers
frightening.
at the end. So overall, I'd say check it out. I think again, once it comes on streaming, I don't think
Yeah.
you can check it out now, but if it comes on streaming, I think it'll be a good watch. I think you'll enjoy it, but again, it's not a perfect film, so take that for what it's worth.
Right.
All right. Next, Pete wants to have a couple quick conversation. He saw Land of Bad. Let's
Yes.
talk Land of Bad.
So I will tell you, the reveal of Land of Bad as a title is phenomenal. I
Yeah,
don't like the title, but the reveal of it was
yeah.
something I haven't seen before, and I was immediately immersed into this story. It was
So
great to see
what do you mean by that?
the reveal of the title of Land of Bad.
You
The
just
build
mean you just mean like on screen, or do you mean with the guy?
on screen. You watch the beginning, the intro, and then they reveal Land of Bad as the title of the
Oh yeah, yeah,
movie
yeah.
was
With the wave.
absolutely
Yeah.
phenomenal. It was great. It was
Well, you know what I
really,
didn't
really
catch the
done well.
first time? I actually saw this movie again. That's how much I liked it. But the guy holds up his arms and he's got it tattooed on his arms. I missed that the first time.
Yeah, it's really it's well thought out.
Yeah,
Um, it was great to see Milo
yeah,
Ventimiglia in proper pronunciation. It was great to see him finally in a role where he's powerful.
yeah,
The majority of the roles we've seen him in, like This Is Us and Heroes, and Rocky even, like he's very shy and less of a person. He's a badass in this movie.
yeah,
And I thought Russell Crowe was phenomenal. I thought Liam Hemsworth went through that proper journey of being, I'm not a soldier and now I'm a soldier.
yeah.
I thought that this movie, which got a 6.5, I would go a touch higher because I thought that this movie was really well done and I was engaged from start to finish. Um, I recommend Land of Bad, even though it is the number one on my list of the worst movie titles I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I still again I saw this twice. I could still see it again.
Fantastic.
I think for what it is, and this is a military film about a mission. If you like that genre, I would think in this genre, I think it's an eight. If
Mission
I'm
Gone
comparing,
Awry,
yeah, if I'm
right?
comparing this to all movies, then I
So
think
good.
it's a seven, probably closer to a seven. But in this genre, I think again, I compared this to Black Hawk Down, 13
Lone
Hour,
Survivor,
Lone Survivor. I think it's just as good as that one without those premier filmmakers making it. So those three films you're talking Ridley Scott, Bruckheimer, Michael Bay,
right?
um, Peter Berg. I think if those guys were with this film, I think obviously it would have been elevated because they have a good musical element. Like I thought the music was solid in this film,
Yeah,
but
no, it was
if
well done.
you had a Hans Zimmer soundtrack to this one, then this is movie's like a nine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I think that's the difference in this film between
right.
even
Forget
better
about it.
was
Slam
just
dunk.
yeah. And then I love the tech in this one. I love all the different components. I love again Russell Crowe's character. It's even better
I,
the second time his little
I love Russell Crowe and the other operator in the control room. I love
yeah
their relationship, and it gets
yeah
paid off.
It's so well
at
done.
the end of it, and that's the ending. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like, that's so satisfying. Like, thank you for closing that chapter
Yeah,
of the
that was good.
story. It was a smart movie, and it did it properly. It told the story properly,
Yeah.
and it did it well. And it was great.
I still hold to my
Nice
original
title.
thing is I still wish there was some sort of like end card title that just like solved the mission. Like because of this CIA asset, this
Yeah.
happened. Like it just I still want to know like, okay, so did we win? Did we got the CIA asset? So what
Right,
does
but
that
that's
mean
the
now?
debate, right? That's the debate. Like, how much do you give credit to the audience to think about how things can be and create future storytellers, or do you have to lay it all out for them
I
at the
just
end
want to
of
know
the?
the importance of the mission because it's
I
never
think because the story was really well done, you don't need that at all.
get it. I get it. I wanted it because I love military movies and I want to know like again, I think of Crimson Tide where it's just like boom, 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 boom. You know, it was just a little title card at the end,
But they
and
don't say anything at the end of Crimson Tide that says, "Oh, well, Gene Hackman went off to do this, and Denzel
no, no, no,
Washington
no. I'm
went
not
off
talking
to do
about the
this."
character. I'm not talking about the characters. I'm talking like the Russian nuclear sub, the resistance was held down, and then they changed the ruling that a nuke commander no longer has the power to make that decision. And so it's like, okay, cool. So I don't know. Just again,
Yeah,
I
no,
want
I
to know
get you.
something in the global, like why
I
was
thought
the
they
mission
ended it
so?
properly, but
Because they
yeah,
never,
I hear what you're saying.
anyways, let's move on. We don't need to get into it. And then lastly, you said you want to talk quickly about One Love. You got 2 minutes.
So One Love, I finally saw One Love, and again, don't get me wrong, this was a really good movie, and I thought the performances were fantastic. I'm just gonna say, to the audience that I'm not really sure that it encapsulated the message behind Bob Marley's music. And I get it that it's supposed to center around a specific moment in a specific concert, even though it didn't really. It was spread out over an extended period of time over different countries and continents. Um, and with flashbacks and with all of that. And you need all of that in a biopic. This movie would have been better served as a straight biopic that said, this is Bob Marley. This was his message. This is why he became who he was. And this is what he did at the end of his life. And you could have actually, through writing and through creativity, done something with the story to make it engaging for an audience as opposed to setting it up as this is what it's going to be and then giving us what it was. I can't say it wasn't a great movie because it was. It was really awesome and I loved it. I just thought it could have been the best biopic we've ever seen in our
Yeah,
lives. And I thought it was a wasted opportunity. It just went in a direction that I personally would not have gone in.
yeah, yeah. I don't necessarily argue with that. I think it was good, but I don't think it.
I
I don't.
didn't get the
I don't know enough.
impact of Bob Marley from the movie that he
I don't
had on
know
my
enough
life.
to know where it could have gone. I just don't have that full knowledge of Bob Marley. But
Just look
uh,
at impact.
yeah,
The movie give you the same feeling of impact that his actual life gave you? The answer is no.
yeah, yeah, for sure. All right,
That's it.
that's gonna wrap it up for us. Next week, obviously, Dune 2 will actually be coming out this weekend, so make sure you check that
So
out.
good. Go see it.
Also, March 1st is Spaceman that stars Adam Sandler. That's gonna be on Netflix. Also in theaters now, you can catch a smaller horror movie called Stop Motion. You've probably seen a trailer of it. And then there's another smaller movie out that I've seen in the AMC. I want to check it out, but it's called A Hip Hop Story. That's it stars, written, directed by Affian Crockett. He was on Saturday Night Live, and he's hilarious. He's hilarious on Saturday Night Live. So I definitely want to check his movie out. And so if you guys, I heard it's really funny, and I want to check that out. So that's gonna wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe. And with that, Pete, that is a cut. Thanks, guys.